Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'll set myself a challenge. I'm going to fill a full 10 car garage, so this full 10 car garage with under $1 million spent, so including mods, including everything, the whole garage under $1 million. If you guys do enjoy this video, let me know if I should do another one with like a very high budget. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Okay, so my first plan was to actually buy a car, but while I was sitting here getting ready to record, I saw a few Sentinels pass. Now if you don't know, Sentinels are worth 90k, you can actually sell these off the street for 9k. So I thought I'd actually pick one of those up to start off this car collection. Now if you don't know what the Sentinel is, it's the Sentinel XS but with a convertible roof. So it's got a hardtop, it doesn't compromise any looks, it's still a really good looking car, but it's a convertible as well. So there's not many customizations on this car. If you want to go for a fully customized car, then I suggest the Sentinel XS, which you can also find on the street, but it's I think the rarity is the same, it's just different times. So with this car I'm going to go with the green, and I may have cheated a little here where I went with 3 wheels. This is the only car that I'm actually going to go with 3 wheels with. So first off, a very simple Sentinel, and I've already spent $9,815. Okay, so the next thing I decided to do is go on Legendary Motorsports, put the price from, low to high, and see what we can deal with. As you guys know, there's not a lot of cars that are in the million budget range, never mind, a tenth of that. So it was really hard to pick here, but I ended up going with a 9F, just because you can make so many good looks with the car, and you can't go wrong. When you're driving this on the street, no one's gonna call you poor or anything. Now, when it actually comes to the options of the 9F, there are a few modification options, not many, but as you see, the front splitters are 4,600 and the back splitters 4,600. Together, it makes, nearly 10% of the car's value. So I'm not gonna go for them just because of how much it costs. I could buy a car for the price that these two modifications are. So I decided to go with the cheapest red I could find, which is just red in LS Customs. And I did the normals, like lowering it. Where I really splashed out in this is the wheels. I went with the new street wheels, and I also went with tie lettering, which cost a lot too. And then that actually brought all the total of this car to $154,865. So I did go a bit out on this car, but just because I went, budget on the Sentinel beforehand, I could actually make this work, which was great. We got a supercar and we're still within the budget. Now Hella, you need to back off a bit. You need to go on San Andreas, not on Legendary Motorsports. And yeah, I went to look at what vehicle to purchase, and I thought instead of going for something small, I'll actually go for a van. So I went with the Youga, just because this car is actually unique. There's a lot of modifications you can do with it. It's cheap, and it'll make my garage kind of look a bit different. Now, if none of you know what the Youga van is, it's kind of like well, you can build it to be a tuner van. A lot of people call it the drift van. When you have engine upgrades, which I'm unfortunately not doing because I can't really afford, because if you think about it, the engine upgrades themselves end up costing like 100k anyway. They call it the drift van because if you put all engine upgrades on it and you lower it, this thing can actually drift in low speeds. So it's a cool little tuner van, and that's why I thought I'd add it to my collection. It's really cheap and it's very different. So I only actually ended up spending $36,140 on this car, which is not even that much, which brings me, enough cash to actually spend on the next one.
Back when I was only new, if you only knew, we was living broken, so confused, hadn't broken through. We was living by the golden rule. Yeah, you know the rules. Influential, yeah, you know the bull. Yeah, you know the bull. We was booking all our own.
Right, okay, so we've got a supercar, we've got a German car, we've got a van. So I was thinking, what next? So another little scout on Southern San Andreas, and obviously I don't want to go for the cheapest car now. We don't need to go in that much of a budget. So let's look at some mid-range cars and some variety as well. So now I decided to go with the Kuruma. Now you guys need no introduction to the Kuruma, probably one of the most popular cars because of the bulletproof Kuruma. And I think you guys can kind of see a common theme here. The bulletproof Kuruma did not come out with GTA, but it is one of the earlier cars. And that's it with all these cars, because all the later cars are so expensive, we have to go with these kind of old gen cars. So the Kuruma has a few modifications, you can't find it on the street. And yeah, you can make this look like a really nice tuner car. Unfortunately, you can't remove the rear spoiler. Now the Kuruma was actually a bit more than I thought. It actually ended up costing me $134,214. Now definitely I could have got another supercar for that much, but you know, nothing can really beat a Kuruma. So I'll start with the streets again, and I think I wanted a bit more of a luxury car here. So I did see a few Oracles pass. Now an Oracle is one of those cars that hardly has any modifications, so I was a bit skeptical to add it, but it's worth a lot of money. And you know, if someone came into this garage, I want people to think that this cost a bit more than $1 million, you know. I want people to come into the garage and think that I went all out instead of I was on a budget. And I think this car will help me a lot in showing that. Now if you actually think, if I get it off the street and I put a few modifications on it, it will look expensive but hardly cost anything. Now altogether the Oracle ended up costing me $33,390, and yeah, that was just majority it. The wheels can end up costing a lot on this. I actually might have gone with some street wheels if I could afford it, but yeah, the wheels were $19,620 on it, and that's why I think it cost that much.
Thank the Lord up above, get the cream on the side, make you laugh to know it. That's the stuff that I love, la la da da da. We can be friends if you wanna. We could just talk if you wanna. We can hold hands if you wanna.
Right, okay, now I kind of wanted to save a bit of money to get a nicer car, so something quite expensive. So I carried on going on the streets. There was a few expensive cars out on this day. I don't know what my luck was, but there's a few expensive cars. We have the Feeling GT, which I think is 90,000, and yeah, I couldn't even decide on what color to get. There were so many of them out there. But yeah, a Feeling GT, a really nice car, and you will see later on when I load this car how nice it looks. Such an underrated car again. Unfortunately, I had to go for another luxurious car, but wasn't really my intention. It's just another nice expensive car. You can get these splitter options which look really nice, and exhaust options. So yeah, a lot of these cars have like all the options, but they only have like one option, like spoiler, one option of skirt, one option of front bumper, and they come quite cheaply too. So I ended up spending $54,195 on the Feeling. It was quite a lot of money regarding that I got it off the street for free. Just look how amazing it looks slammed.
Hey, tell me what you wanna do.
Okay, so searching the streets again, I did realize that I didn't have a muscle car, so this is the perfect opportunity with the Phoenix. Now, this is another car that came out with GTA 5. I know with these cars there's not many options, but I also think that this is a car which not a lot of people have right now in their collection. So this is a bit of an eye-opener, a bit of insight to the Phoenix and how good it is. This is like one of those cars you might have had, you know, back in 2013, but you definitely don't have anymore. And it's definitely worth a second look at this car. Altogether, I ended up spending $43,940 with this car. Again, a lot of money for a car that has cheap modifications. Okay, at this point we've got simplistic cars. We've got one supercar, and I think we need to amp that up a bit. So I'm going to look for something looks expensive but may not be that much. What else better to go with than the Coquette? Now, I think everyone's owned this car at least once, you know, in their GTA history. It's definitely an OG car, and You know, I think this is one of the cars, again, you own, you know, near the start of GTA. Still a really good car and still looks really modern as well. It looks like it, you know, you won't be mistaken if this came out just now in a new DLC. You wouldn't think twice about it looking outdated. But you have so many modifications with this, and what is a bit weird, you do have like a lot of tuner modifications for this kind of super sports car. Definitely not the fastest sports car out there, but it looks really nice when it's slammed. Now this is the most expensive car so far that I spent money on. I spent 216,730 on, and that's all to do with me being able to save it with all these cars I got off the street. It is the most expensive so far, but the next one will cost even more. Okay, again, I did say in the last one we need to be spending a bit more money to make this garage look up to date and, you know, looking like we spent a lot of money on it. So I went for another supercar, which is the Carbon is Air, and this was 195k. So I knew that after the modifications on this thing, I'm probably gonna have to, you know, budget on the next car, and we'll have to work around it. So luckily there's not really any modifications anyway. There's only a hood option, so we couldn't really change anything anyway. I ended up changing the wheels to one of the new street wheels, which is really expensive as well. It didn't really help with the budget I have, and I ended up spending 240,000 on this car, which only leaves me with 84,000. But I'm really happy with this purchase. It definitely is the most expensive car, and it looks it as well. Okay, so final car. We're on a budget, and I kind of want to spice up the last car because, as you can probably see, there's a common theme of a lot of my cars being quite plain. The last car just had wheels on it, and the car before that pretty much just had wheels on it. So I wanted something a bit more abstract, and within the budget of 84k, this is our final car. What better to do that with than the Futo? Now the Futo actually has livery options, so we could put a nice livery on this car, put some tuner modifications on it, you know, with the new street wheels, see how much we could fit in our budget, and this was the outcome. And we ended up spending 67,000 on this car, which is within our budget, and what a great final car to pick.